I've started the recording. So this is the Design 301 lecture. It's for Tuesday the 31st. And we're going to work on Workspace Setup. And then I'm going to just show you some stuff about clicking and drawing. And just getting started. It's not a sprint fast start. I start off a little bit slow. We get heavy in week 4, 5, and 6. We start really getting into it and giving you a bunch. And then by week 8 or 9 or 10, where you're actually just applying all this stuff. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let me just show you really quickly how to get going here. Our main topic is lines, circles, and shapes this week. I will be using, close that one. Nope, that is closed down. Okay. I'm going to close these up so I don't get confused with what's up there. Sorry. There we go. I will be working on the VMware. We've got 2 lectures this week. There is a YouTube playlist, so everything will get put into there. So here I've got a copy of it right here. You may wish to check this one out right off the bat. It's kind of how to get started and get going. And these are kind of in good order. How to set up your workspace, how to use your mouse. Now that is for a Windows mouse. A very, very good one on just the basics of drawing lines. A really cool one on a snap tools. And then circles and basic shapes. So you can watch those all at 2 times speed and be done in 15 to 20 minutes, or you can watch them regular. Just kind of get the idea with those of what's going on. And then as we go, as the week progresses, I will add videos of demonstrations, of lectures. And then sometimes people just ask me, can you send me a video on how to do this one thing? And I will do that. Going down the list, there is no reading list. If you need to get a hold of me, use the appointment calendar. There's a few things that will be helpful. This is what to draw. Now, you don't have to make this perfect. You don't need the little dashy lines, but you might try to figure out how to do those. This one, I might make you a video on or demonstrate. Not quite as easy as you might think, but it's not too bad either once you get the idea. So there's those, and then there's some rectangles, and just pick some of these, and I'm going to give you a technique that will make that pretty easy, because you notice there's no there's no dimension. They're just kind of shapes, using shapes. But it's amazing what you can draw with circles and just rectangles. And then we've got a plate that really gets you to draw specific dimensions of things, and another one that gets you to make a specific shape. Okay, so that's sort of what we've got for the week. That's what you're going to get in there. And I've also given you a sample of what your thing might look like. It's a little stretched out of shape. Sorry. This one was done in an 8.5 by 11, and somehow it got made into a big one. So it's kind of goofy looking. But it shows how to do your workspace setup ones, and then how to do some of the other ones. It's not everything. It's kind of okay. But it gives you kind of an idea. All right? So it's not great, but it's just kind of there. I might give some other ones. So those are the things to view and read. You do have 2 discussion postings to do. There's one about what's up with this drawing? What does it mean? What is it? Jargon is something that it's a good thing. Sometimes jargon is like what's a wonk, a 10 UNC, a 1 ounce. I don't know what that means. What's a cham? What's an umph? What's this underline mean? What's that weird little symbol? And I know it's not sharp, but it's okay. I'm just asking you to tell me, what can you tell about this? And if you can figure out what this is, which it says what it is, and actually find a picture of one online, that's really cool. Okay, and then job skills. Tracing is a very specific job skill. And I get people go, tracing? I'm doing AutoCAD. I'm not going to trace. It's one of the main things you do with AutoCAD is tracing. So, and here's an example. It's often used in architecture and land planning where you get a map off of Google or whatever. You cannot use it. It is copyright protected and it's got too much stuff and it's in the wrong format. So you just need to be able to quickly and easily trace it over and make a drawing. So I've given you some instructions and here's a video. And so this is really cool. It's drawing lines. It's a job skill. Very, very definitely a job skill. The simulations are optional, but we have a milling simulation and it's a how-to here. And you can make a part. You can mill a part. I'm not going to go over it because it's optional. But if you can't figure it out from what I've given you on here, just DM me or talk to me or send me an email and I'll be glad to make you a better video. Okay, and here's the perspective view tracing one. Again, it's sort of tracing and you're creating a perspective view. So this one also is optional. I don't know why I don't have why they're gone here. Circles, shapes, and plate 1, 2. Those are actually required. Imagine that I didn't leave that, put that on there. Okay. And then here's your submittal template. And I'll show you more about that one as we go along. But I think it's fairly straightforward. This follows the same plan we did last time. The only difference is I'm going to expect to see a link to the folder in your Google Drive where I see all of your AutoCAD files and your PDF outputs from those. Okay, and then these are just snips of you doing the work that I'm about to show you. Cool. And I've given it to you in a video, but I thought I'd just go ahead and do it now. So what I'm going to do is the Workspace Setup, and I'm not going to follow along with anything. I'm just going to do it for you. Okay, so here we go. The first thing is I'm going to log into my VMware. I have it bookmarked already. And even though I have it on this particular laptop, I'm going to go through the browser. So I'm going to click on the HTML access. I'm going to get it through the browser. And this is just your W number and password. And all of these come up. They're all configured a little bit different. So you can choose ARC Design and Engineering. That's the best one. If for some reason you can't get on, you can use where's my Design Hub? There it is, Design Hub. You can use that one. This one has AutoCAD 2022. This has AutoCAD 2021. So you click on it, and it takes a little while to come up. That's just the way it is. So there's always a little waiting period, but I figured I'd sit here and be patient like you'll be patient. Doesn't really take that long. There it is, and it comes up, and it starts bleeping at you, and then a little thing comes up after a while. Now, what I do right away, even before I start working, is I open Adobe Acrobat, because then I can always plot to Acrobat. I can open Acrobat. I can do all that other stuff. So I just have to get myself ready, like always. And it takes a few minutes every time we get in, but that seems like it's worth it. So now you use your W number at apps.losrios.edu. I have to use my official. One. Hit OK. Now, if this doesn't work for you, I actually don't know how to help you out, and you have to get to the tech support people. Okay, but now it's up and it's open, and I'm going to show you a few more things that I do. So I'm just going to minimize that. You see it down here, but I'm also going to make it so that I don't see my bookmarks. It just cleans things up a little bit. So now I'm just seeing, well, yeah, I should be okay. Okay. So the next thing is I got to get online and see stuff. So I'll go ahead and get online. It goes to your single sign-in. Does not remember you. See if I typed that in right. Whoa, I did. What do you know? And that's just here so that I can get to stuff, because I need to get to Canvas. To get to my class. To get to my resources. I'm going to have my assignment plates open. Cool. So now I'm ready. Now this is what can be kind of confusing. I have two bars down here. This bottom bar is for my computer that I am working on. So if I do something down here, it won't actually work in here. This black bar, or the upper bar, is the one that goes with this virtual computer. So I have to click that one, and I have to click that one. Also, these ones at the top go with my computer, not this virtual desktop. So I kind of have to go, okay, get a little bit weird in my mind and really concentrate on what's on this one here. So now I'm ready to go, though. And the first thing to do is set up my AutoCAD workspace. And you need to do this every time you get into AutoCAD if you're on VMware. If you put AutoCAD on your own computer, it will remember what happens and what you did. But this erases everything so that we don't get viruses and things like that. It's our safety protocol. So every time you get on, it's brand new. So I'm going to come over here to AutoCAD, and I'll double click. And so I know this is sort of like, you guys need to be efficient. You're in a hurry. There's a lot to do. When you really get this down, it takes about 5 minutes. So to have all the software and have it free, that's okay. If you want it on your own and save that small amount of time, that's good. Now, there's one other thing that you should know is that when I save and log out, everything I saved is gone unless I save it in a certain spot. So I'm going to show you right now, save as, and I'm going to show you some tricks later on, but that make life easier, but not right now. You can save it. You have a W number folder in VMware that you can put your stuff in. I can save my Workspace Setup file, and then that'll be there for me if you save it on your W number drive. Okay, so here we go. I've got AutoCAD open. You can see it saved it right there. You can see all sorts of other stuff. You can see this ribbon across the top. And not only that, but there's multiple ribbons that you can go to. Oh my gosh, there's only a million different commands, and this isn't even showing all of them. And I can even, by pressing this click button, get a whole nother drawing. I can have multiple drawings shown. And I can come down here and I can see my model where I drew, or I can see pieces of paper called a layout that I can see my model on. And over here, there's this big line of tools in the bottom right. They're called customized controls. And up here on the right is something called my navigation bar. It lets me know it's my view cube. It lets me know where I'm looking. And down here, although I can move it around, is my command line, which is super important. That's where you type and read as a communication method to AutoCAD. So that's all there. Wow. Now, I grew up working with white pieces of paper, and this black background is really hard for me to read. And when I print it, it's really hard to see and things like that. So the first thing I want to do is adjust the color. You may love the color the way it is. That's fine. You get to set AutoCAD how you want it to look. But I'm going to show you how. So I'm going to either type options, and I just started typing, and then a whole bunch of selections come up, and it's this first one. The other thing I can do is right click in this area here. Right click, and there, these are things that I might want to do, and I might want to go to my options. Both those ways work just great. Oh my gosh, look at all the things that you can do to set up. This is called your user profile. And you can save this, you can change it, but I'm going to go to the display and set it for light display, and my colors. I want my 2D model space. This is my model space where I'm working, to have a uniform background, and I want it to be white. I just like it better. And then if I apply it, I get, yeah, for me, that just looks better. I can see it and everything looks good. So now the next thing is these little squares. I can turn on these little snap modes, and that'll make my cursor really just go from square to square to square. See how it's all jumpy looking? I'll zoom in so it's, see how it's all jumpy looking? So these can be useful if the grid matches up with what you're going to draw. But I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to turn off the grid because in my life, that's rarely useful. Okay, so these little buttons down here help you do things. So that's kind of cool. So that's a big part of your workplace setup. How does it look, and what custom commands are you using? Now I'm going to show you the list of custom commands. And I'm going to show you the ones that for this basic introductory class seem to be pretty useful, and then I'm going to tell you that you can turn all the other ones off for now. As you move through our program, you might get to a spot where you want them on. But that's easy. You can come and turn them on and off. And I'm not even going to tell you what they all do. I'm just going to give you a list. Model space, grid, and snap mode are all good to have. Dynamic input is good to have. Ortho mode is essential. Polar tracking is essential. But isometric drafting is rarely used unless you're doing piping drawings or maybe some electrical drawings, things like that. Really not used that much. And 3D takes over. Object snap tracking and object snap are two very useful ones. Line weight is essential. Now, when I say essential, it means I'm going to be using it a lot. You can actually just start typing these words in and the stuff comes up. Now, none of the rest of this is really important. And annotation visibility, that's for a special type of work later on, and some architects use it. We'll turn that one off. Auto scale, we'll turn that one off. We want control. Annotation scale is pretty cool, but you're going to see that it will pop up automatically later on. So I'm going to turn that off. Workspace switching is pretty important because it's how you switch between flat 2D drawings and volumetric 3D drawings. So I think that one's good to have. Annotation monitor, tell you the truth, I don't even know what it means. Isolate objects, we won't use that here at all. And clean screen, we won't use that. So those are the ones you need to have on. And you can see that down here at the bottom on my right, fewer of them are on. And so as you go through your portfolio, your submittal, you'll want to be able to show that. That can actually be a little bit hard to get this to show up. But do the best you can. Sometimes you'll need a screenshot and zoom in and zoom out. Depends on how your computer is set up. But you can certainly get a picture of all of these and identify them. So now, what do these do? We're going to skip this model. Well, we won't skip that one. If I'm on a piece of paper and I draw on top of the piece of paper, it does not show up in my model. Isn't that cool? I love it. Okay. But if I draw in my model, now I have to find it. So to do that, I'll say, go into model mode and double click. There it is. Now I got it. Now it's there. And I can turn my grid on or off and things like that. So now that's in the model. So if I need to touch the model, I go paper or model. When I'm over here just in the model, it's just telling me that's where I'm at. You've seen this one already. Grid. And look, there's an F7 button on my computer, and there are people that are function button people that just fly. They turn it on and off. There's the snap mode, where now I can only draw from one snap to another on my grid. And that's the F9 button. This one's really cool. It's dynamic input. I generally don't use it, but I try to teach with it. That means that when I'm actually drawing, information comes up next to my cursor rather than down on the command line. So dynamic mode means that where my cursor is, and I'm just moving my mouse around, information pops up and I can actually type things in. 20, 20. And then go to 30, 30. So it's a cool thing. And you can turn it on and off. Ortho is another cool one. Like, if I needed to draw perfectly straight across, I'm going to turn my tracking off. Maybe looks like I got perfectly straight across. Maybe I did and maybe I didn't, and it was really slow. No, look. I'm at compare 41.5749 with 41.5331. I'm off by 0.04. Now, maybe that was important and maybe it wasn't. But if I want to make absolutely sure I draw straight, sideways, no matter where my cursor goes, I draw sideways or up and down. That is really, really cool for drawing quickly and efficiently. So this ortho button is really powerful. And there's lots of ways to get to it. You can do F8 or I can, let's see, hold on a sec. There's another one of my buttons I can push down. Oh, that has to be off. That's why. The other way I can do it is hold down my shift button while I'm not in it, and it goes into that mode. So that's kind of cool. So drawing orthographic is really important. Restrict to certain modes, angles. So now there's 30 degrees. And see how it gives me my little tracking thing? There's 60 degrees. So I can set it for any set of degrees that I want. That's a really, really useful one. And this polar tracking is really cool. If I want to draw from this endpoint up even with this endpoint, I can start, touch, and then my polar tracking kicks in and I can get over. So you won't be required to do those yet, but they're pretty cool. And then what if I want to draw from the midpoint of something? Now I can hit midpoints very quickly. So those are just some of those things that we can do. I'm going to make the line weight thing just to show you. Turning the, like right now, it just looks like a line, but I can tell it to show how thick I've drawn the line. And you'll see that later on in about 3 or 4 weeks. We won't worry about it till then, but I like to let you see what it's like. You won't need it right now. The last one is to go into 3D modeling, and you see that this all changes. I get tons of extra things I can do. And then when I look at it at an angle, I can do cool 3D things like press pull and look at it conceptually. And I can press pull different parts. And I can extrude different faces. I can do all sorts of cool things. I can even let me do a quick one here. No, I'll have to do a quick trim. I can do a cool thing called a revolve, where I can take some lines and revolve them. Make a cone. Except I didn't do the whole thing. Isn't that cool? I mean, oh my gosh. The things you can do with this are really cool. So that's your workplace switching. And you will get to do 3D in this class. You absolutely will get to do 3D in this class. And I have to go back to there to get out of this mode. And you don't have to do any of that. I'm just showing you what these are for, but I do make you take a little snip of this. I do make you take a little snip of this. And there we go. Okay. We'll talk about the line weights and all that later on. Okay. That's about half of all of this. There's your color theme. There's setting these up. There's that workspace setting. Here's your object snaps. Oh, line weight settings. I want you to be able to do line weight settings. So when you click on line weight settings and then right click, I right clicked on line weight settings. I want you to be able to put it into inches. So now that everything is in inches there. So there's a few ways that you can take that picture, but the easiest is a snip. Take a snip of that. So we just went over that slide, that slide, that slide, that slide, that slide, that slide, and now we're ready for this slide. So look at all that. And I'll put the point units on here. I see now that I don't have my point units on there, so I need to put them on there for your for you to work with. So let me show you this last one called drawing units. So when I draw something that's one long, anybody got any idea what I meant by that? How long is that? Somebody tell me if you got a chance. How long was that? I drew it one long. How long was it? Well, I hear silence because you actually don't know. Yeah. It's like, what is that? Is it 1 millimeter? Is it 1 meter? Is it an inch? Is it a foot? Is it a yard? I actually don't, you don't know. I'm supposed to know because I drew it. So you have to tell AutoCAD and you record that so that if somebody else opens your file, they know what you meant. And I'll give you a fun little story. It wasn't actually that fun. I was working as the chief engineer for a company in Woodland, California, and we belonged to a bigger company that had a subsidiary in China. And they had a foundry there. And the goal of our company was to create a new valve that would compete really strong with our competitor. So we did the design up and we sent it to our factory in China and we said, give us a quote. And they gave us this amazingly good quote. And we just wanted a sample, right? We said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you can get it to us when, oh my gosh, it was so cheap. And we're going, man, China is the best place to get anything made. And we knew that this was a good foundry because our inspector who had gone there told us that they even make them wear shoes in the foundry. Many of the foundries, that's where they, melt steel and pour it. The workers weren't required to wear shoes, but in our foundry, they did. So we go, okay, they're just good. And about 6 weeks later, and we ordered 50 of them because the price was so good. We got a little crate with 50 of them in them, and they were tiny. Anybody know what scale factor they were? Got a guess? We got tiny little valves. Even worse, Alicia. Even worse than centimeters. They were millimeters. 1 to 25.4. So it was like, oh my gosh. And that's because we did not convert our files for their manufacturing machines. We sent them our files. They didn't know. The files, it just said, 6. And we got something that was 6 millimeters instead of 6 inches. So we had to redo that. So we have to tell AutoCAD. So you type in the word units. And you tell AutoCAD. So there's lots of ways you can make them fractions. And you can say how close you want AutoCAD to talk to you. It really holds the numbers to 32 bits in the computer, actually 64 bits in the computer. But when AutoCAD is talking to you, it'll round for you. So your precision, I usually start in decimal with a precision of 4. And our standard in this class will be inches at least for the first 8 to 10 weeks. And we will usually do decimal degrees, 22.5, 45, something like that. But we'll say at least 1 or 2 decimal places. And lighting, we don't have to worry about that because we will do no lighting at all. So now, if I were to measure this and I look at its properties and it gave me the length, it would be 1 long, and I could go back and find out from my units that it was 1 inch. So that's really, really important. I have personal experience with how important that was. This happens a lot in drone survey, where most drones do their scans in meters, and many civil engineers use decimal feet. So you have to actually convert your drawings and stuff, which you won't do in this class, but you can do later on. Okay, so that's your workplace setup. That's it. That's the majority of what goes on. So now I'm going to show you another little trick. Okay, so I'm gonna minimize my AutoCAD, and remember, I'm not gonna do it up here. I'm gonna do it right here. That's my AutoCAD, and I'm gonna pull this back up, and I'd say, okay, I want to draw this thing now, and I'm gonna do something called draw rectangles. And I'm gonna show you how you can do it really quickly. If it'll come up, come on, show up. There it goes. So using this snip tool, that's the one in my VMware, I'm going to take a new little snip of it. I'm going to copy that. Copy. And then I can actually put that looks okay. I can go right click, clipboard, paste. Now I have no clue how big that is. I don't care how big it is. We're not into that yet. We will be later on, but I want to show you how quickly and easily you can get just a quick version of this. There's a little tool up here. I'm on my home ribbon in the draw, and right here there's a little thing that says rectangle. Or I can type it in, rectangle. And it says, oh, click some points. So I just hover over near it, left click, left click. That was pretty cool. And I don't care how good you do with this. If your snaps are on, that's kind of cool. Endpoint and midpoint makes it a little easier. So I'm going to do it again. Rectangle. Find my midpoint and come down a ways. Rectangle. And then these ones I can just kind of make any kind of a rectangle. Don't really care. That's groovy. Okay, so then I can make it look heavier and stuff like that. And see how now you can see that that's kind of heavy. The other thing I can do is I can take this object, right click, properties, and I can give it some transparency. Then you can see it's really easy to draw on top. So this is how you can do these ones. Now, I'm not asking you to get everything perfectly lined up, but you might want to. Cynthia, go ahead and ask your question.
So once you draw your squares and you line them, or you try to line them up, if it's off, is there a way to give a command so it lines up automatically, or do you have to redraw it? And the second part to it is that you draw a square. How is it? How do you erase it?
Okay, good. Both great questions, and I'll answer those. I'm going to answer the second one first. How do I erase it? There's a bunch of ways. Here's the eraser button right here. So you can click erase and hover over any one of these and see how it's going. And then you just click enter. So that erases it. I'm a big Control Z. Go back person too. Okay, so there's erase, or you can just click on it and hit the delete button. So there's that. Okay, so now your next question is really all about next week, but I'm going to give you a little bit just because I know that you're interested and you'll work forward on it.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Because you're giving us a lot now, and even just like you're moving your grid and your paper, etc. That's one of the issues that
Right.
I'm having.
Okay. So
how to do the basics.
Okay. And so this is part of it. Now there's a tutorial on this, but how do you use your mouse wheel? Okay. So if I hold my mouse wheel down, you see the little hand comes up? That lets me move back and forth and up and down. That's the pan command. And then I think there's somewhere over here that lets you call that up. Oh, here it is over here. You can actually call that up. But I use the mouse wheel. So mouse wheel down. Cynthia, go ahead and ask a question.
I'm sorry, and I apologize to my classmates, but
they have the same questions, believe me.
Well, I did watch the tutorials, and I will go back again because this is brand new to me. Like I know some others have experience with it, but this is a totally new to me. But for example, one of the discussion questions, which relates to exactly what you're doing, outlining the counties, as far as tracing. They had us start at the XY axis and go up to 6 inches. And I couldn't get my box to attach to the XY axis. And that was why I was referring to how do you move? And that I just couldn't get it.
Okay, so here's the way to do it. So on that particular one, see how since I have my dynamic on, and now I'm going up in the Y direction, I can type 6, enter, and I move my thing over, 6, enter, 6 down, and 6 over. And the only reason for that is when you bring in your image like I did right here, I need to size it to fit in that box because the architect says that's how big you got on my plan. So don't make it too big. Okay? So that's where that one was from. Cool? So these are all good questions. They're great questions. To do a specific line, to do a specific line, I hit the line command and I'm just moving around, and I can start anywhere. Or I can say start at 0, 0. And now I can say go up 6, go over 6, 6 over. So there's a few things to know now. First, I can zoom or I can pan to what I want. If I want to zoom into something, I get my cursor near it and I move my wheel forward or back. And to catch everything, I can either type zoom, enter all, or zoom, enter extents, or I hate it when that happens. They keep telling me that that won't happen, but it does all the time. That's okay. If that happens to you, just come back in and it will remember you if you get on within like half an hour or so. And there we go. There it is. It's back. Okay. So I can roll my wheel. I can hold my wheel down, or I can double click my wheel to get to everything. I can do lots of different types of selections. I can click on it, delete. I can click on the lower left, let the wheel go or the mouse go, and then click on the upper left, and it will get everything that crosses that box. Or I can go the other way, click upper left, click lower right, and it clicks everything that is all the way inside. So those are just a few of the things that you can do. Nasma, yes, go ahead and answer your question. Ask your question.
Hi, Mr. Randall. I actually am having a question in regards of the lecture. Is it gonna be
It
recorded?
is
So in case if
recorded.
I need to.
Yes, it is. It
Okay.
is being recorded as of right now. It is recorded. Cool.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, and I'll get it
Wonderful. I
posted
appreciate it.
later on today.
All right. No problem.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
And so this is how you can just get this one done pretty easily. And I don't actually even care if you get things lined up on this one. We'll talk about that later on. Talk about all those things about what all this means and what it's doing and what's going on. I just want you to kind of like be able to draw something that looks like something. I'm going to turn my snaps off now for a minute. Going to the wrong spot. There we go. So that's sort of how you do those first ones. I could do the same thing with circles. There's the circle command. And I can just trace. And if I can find the center, if I hover, it tells me where the center is. And if my thing was on there, I'd be able to start finding where they are. Go ahead and put these little circles in. So that's your very first get started. And hopefully the YouTubes help you learn how to draw some lines and do some of these other things. There we go. So now I'm going to show you, I need to save these. So I'm saving them in VMware on my personal network drive in my folder. So there was my workspace setup, and this is going to be trace shapes. And notice that I'm saving in 2018 format. AutoCAD lets you save backwards. None of the other Autodesk ones do. That's cool. Save. And I'm set. And I can take snips of these. A new snip. And I can save my snips for later on too. There's my drive. Summer. There we go. So that is essentially what you're going to do to get started. Now I'm going to do a lot more. I'm going to do this all again, and I'm going to show you on Thursday how to do plates 1 and plate 2. So then you'll have everything all done. So everything's saved now. I can close. If I want to now, I can take my stuff and put it on my Google Drive, right? So I could put this on my Google Drive if I want to right now. Load it up into there so that I've got it everywhere. But I'm going to close my Google Drive. I'm going to close. This thing can cause problems. I do usually exit the application. Make sure I'm all the way closed out. I hit my back button or my sign out button. And then I do it one more time. Just make sure I'm all the way off. And that's it. That's your process. Okay? And then you can close VMware. So that's about it. Let me take any last questions before we close up for today and I get this all posted. Okay, then I'm going to stop the recording.